in the kitchen and let's get the kale sauce going, Mimi. It's going to be called Kale Sauce. Use up all your green sauce. And it's going to be posted on the website for week 1. And when it's all cooked and done, it goes in a container like this. And you can squeeze it out on rice, and you can squeeze it out on potatoes and scrambled eggs and frittatas. It's not a pesto. It's not loaded with oil. Just a few tablespoons to get the onion going, and we're going to show you how to do that.
But makes a great sandwich spread. You can mix it with mayonnaise, with yogurt, whatever you want.
The other thing this is really good for is making green enchiladas.
Yes.
Add cilantro and hot peppers. One of our members came up with that recipe last year. I'm going to go home this week and make a green lasagna. So you make a white sauce and for a couple layers, and green sauce for a couple layers, and a little ricotta, and it's company food.
Totally.
And all you need is, a batch of greens like that.
Yeah.
But this is 8 cups of homemade chicken stock. So essentially it's what you make with the leftovers after you've roasted a chicken. But if you don't have homemade chicken stock, get the stuff you're used to buying in the grocery store.
What is nice to do when I've had to use chicken stock, the organic stuff you can get in a like a box, is I will put it on the stove with some leftover celery leaves.
Oh, there you go.
Carrots, maybe some peppercorns, some garlic that's too small that I don't want to bother with, and put that all in there and let it simmer for whatever amount of time you've got, and then strain it off, and then you've got a good stronger base to do. And then I even take those leftover cooked vegetables, chop them up, and then it goes into my dog food. I don't waste it.
So we've got a pot. It's got 8 cups of chicken stock. We're going to bring that to a boil, and then we're going to stir in 2 cups of arborio rice, and then we're going to set the timer. We're going to set it for 20 minutes, and by then the rice will be cooked. And we call it Avgolemono rice, not soup, because it's more of a solid side dish or a solid main dish if you want that to be your source of protein, because it does have quite a few eggs in it. I wanted to point out this bowl because this bowl has some red onions, some just regular old yellow onions, and it's got citrus in it. It's got limes and lemons and garlic. These are basics in Mimi and Terry's kitchen.
Never without them.
Well, if we are, we're on the phone.
We're on the phone borrowing. This is kind of a fun thing to watch. Terry and I do it a little bit different. But when you've got a big onion, so that you don't have to obviously watch your finger. That's why I'm doing, again, the claw on the top. So I put it down the center, then I go like this. And now you're just got to dice. Makes it go, for me, much quicker, and you don't have to cry so much. And my thumb winds up being the back paddle there, and you can use, of course, that. I'm not, of course, going to. I just chop this up just a tiny bit smaller so nobody turns their nose up.
So these are the shiitakes, and we're going to clean them up a little bit. Things like this go in the soup. The ends go in the soup stock, and we wipe these down to make sure they're clean. And if you have members in your family that are reluctant mushroom eaters, these are so good for your immune system, and they just make things have more flavor. It's the umami. So I'm going to put about 4 big ones in this recipe. 1, 2, 3. Let's get another one. 4. I'll give Kristen the rest of these for the week's cooking. But we're going to saute these down. I call it sweating them down a little bit. I took a little knob of the stem off, and I threw it over in the soup stock pile. And then sometimes you just need to rub them clean. These come straight from a grower here in Duval, which is pretty fortunate for us.
And again, I just want to point out when you've got organic onions, the skins actually they're finding have a lot more nutrients than we originally thought. So do put those in your soup stock. It adds a wonderful rich color also to it. But again, you're getting all your bennies. So again, there's no reason to throw this away.
Okay, so our chicken stock has come to a boil, and we're going to take the lid off and stir the rice in. That was 2 cups of arboreal rice. Now, there's no extra salt or anything going into this because this is coming off of the homemade, so it already has seasoning in it. So you just, like Mimi said, you decide how you want to season it. I'm going to turn that down to low and put the timer on because I'll never remember. And let it cook. And while we're doing that, we're going to saute the mushrooms and the onions. And once those are nicely sauteed, those are going to go in the food processor over here, ready to go. And we will boil, oh, that's what we need. Mimi needs a pot of water to boil. Now at home, I like to add a little bit of red pepper flake to this. I'm not going to do that because there are younger children that are going to be eating this. But we would put that in there. And I would probably add a little more black pepper, and I think I'm going to do a little bit of that. Not as much as I would normally do for older people. So we're putting about 3 or 4 tablespoons of oil, maybe 3. It's not a lot. That's gonna be the binder for the entire kale sauce. And we're going to start the boiling water because we only have 2 burners, but you know, you make do with what you got. It works fine. You don't need a huge 6-burner range to cook a dinner.
And you don't have to have a lot of fancy pots and pans. As you will see around here, we're kind of using whatever we have, and we have fun doing that. And you also, this for kitchen things, this is really all what we use. You don't have to have all kinds of fancy things. So we've got our peeler, we've got a spatula. We do love our zester.
For citrus.
For citrus, for zesting. This we use a lot because since we do use so many lemons and limes and stuff, so we do that a lot with that. And this really is one of your best friends in the kitchen. For even checking the temperature of your water, if you want to know what a simmer is, you know, put it in to a boil, to even knowing when your cakes, muffins, anything, your meats, whatever. This is extremely handy until you get the real touch of it, or
It's an instant read.
Yeah, instant read. And of course a handy whisk, and for a couple of years we didn't even use measuring cups, but we kind of do once in a while, so you know, they are nice to have around.
We actually do measure things once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah. So I mean, really, you can have really simple things, and of course your kitchen knife. You're going to do
Having one that you like to,
yeah,
this
totally.
shape, or that's the one I use at home.
Yeah. That's my most favorite knife.
Yeah, this is a nice one. So these are the things that are going to go in the onion and garlic saute. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we threw some of the zucchini that I scraped out. We just threw it in there.
Mm-hmm. And see, and then we use some of the greens from here. And again, if I had just little bits and pieces like this would either go into a mince, or it can even go into here. No one's going to know that it's there.
It would taste
Say
really
that-
good.
Yeah, it's just adding more value to your food, more minerals, more vitamins and all that, and a great way to sneak in vegetables to people that don't think they like them.
Well, and we love them, but we wouldn't necessarily prep it all. So in our family, usually there's some kind of mince. We call them a Mimi mince, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily teeny tiny.
No.
It just means something's chopped up, a mix of vegetables, some salt, maybe some garlic, definitely some acid, some fresh lime or fresh lemon or even vinegar if you don't have one of those, but the citrus is our favorite. And then whatever fresh herbs are seasonal.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if you've got this in the fridge in a container, I like my glass containers with a snap lid on them, essentially the vegetables are pickling. They're macerating in there in that salt, and it extends their life and usability. So in the morning when we get up, and we might have some eggs, and we might have something else alongside it. I make a cabbage slaw that's been macerated. We'll take the mince to pop the flavor and put it on there.
Yes.
Or soups.
Soups, anything, and I'll tell you what, one of the other best friends for me in the kitchen is turning into Italian parsley. That Italian parsley will definitely kick up anything that you're cooking. What I'm actually just doing now is the starting of maybe just a mince. I maybe have, just a little tiny bit of, let's say that's all I've got.
1 zucchini.
Yeah, I'm going to put a couple radishes in there. We'll put some greens in there.
And you've got the green garlic.
Don't be a perfectionist. The idea is to make it your own. So this is going to be just kind of a rough mince that you're just going to see how we're starting to use some of our little bits and leftovers here. Same with our little radishes. Like I said, we would normally eat these, but you know, let's say I only have this many left and I've got 6 people coming over. Well, guess what? They're going in my mince. And just cut them up really fine. Or in chunks. Again, don't be thinking anything's perfect here. And then it goes into my mince.
And they're so yummy.
They're so yummy, and now you're starting to even see how some beautiful colors starting to pop in there.
Oh, you know what we did in there? We need some radish tops. I'll dig some.
Oh, the radish tops,
So
yes.
here's our bucket, and the radish tops are on the bottom. You just, and I don't even pull it out. I'm just going to fold in, grab a handful. That's about right, don't you think?
Yeah. So again, I did kind of the chiffonade ribbon cut, but obviously extremely coarse. But I do want it rather fine because I'm leaving all the stems in there. And stems, again, that's a mouthfeel. So the finer they're chopped, I think the better, especially for the little guys that are learning how to eat vegetables. If you've got herbs at home, this would be wonderful with, you know, any kind of herb, whatever your favorite herb is. There's no wrongs here.
This is the beginning of a saute, just a slow. We're going to sweat these vegetables down, bring some sweet forward in the onions. So this will take a bit longer.
Now, since we don't do lemons and limes, obviously growing on the farm, I do recommend if they're not organic, make sure you wash them extremely well because a lot of times they put kind of a waxy finish on them, and you want to get all of that off because that's where your pesticides and stuff are. It also helps with lemons or limes to also roll them. It's my favorite one of my favorite little tools. I'm going to use the zest. Again, I'm not going to get rid of anything. If you use a little lemon or if you use some cider vinegar, put a little bit in your stock. Just a little bit. What that'll do is help break down the bone a little, and of course then give you a richer stock.
It smells good. And we're making Avgolemono Rice, which has lemon in it. I'm going to put a little bit of zest, not too much in this one, and I'm going to mince that up quite finely. That's probably enough. And a couple of lemons go in the recipe. So my approach is just squeeze it out and you can pick the seeds out later. So you need about 5 to 6 tablespoons of lemon for this recipe. And the lemon goes into the egg, and then the egg gets tempered, and I'll show you what that means, and then it gets folded back into the rice. When you're handling raw eggs, they don't get to play with raw vegetables, no. Ever. No. So we're gonna deal with the eggs over here, and then we'll wash our hands once we're done handling the raw eggs.
And this is just to incorporate the whites into the yolk, or the yolk into the whites.
It looks like more than I want.
Well, put as much as you want. Again, like I said, we both say
You can add it later.
you can add it later.
Those are big onions.
Oh, smells divine.
Okay, there's the timer for the rice.
Oh, cool. Oh gosh, I wish you could smell. I really do. But you can see the rice is now absorbing all that lovely broth.
Just about there.
Yeah, and again, this is not something you have to keep stirring like you're doing
That's
your
Avgolemono
risotto.
rice. And it's got a little bit of liquid in it, not much. That's perfect because we are going to fold this egg lemon mixture into this, and it'll cook for about 3 or 4 minutes afterward, and it makes like this wonderful, glorious custard sauce. but I want to temper the eggs first. Tempering means you're just trying to bring that temperature of the eggs up a teeny bit before we whisk. So I'm going to grab a little bit, like so. Let's move this out of the way. And then if you're by yourself and you don't have someone to hold the bowl, thank you, Mimi, you can do this. Mimi's going to clean up the egg mess first. Thank you, dear. If you want to hold that bowl, you're going to put a little bit of the rice in here at a time. You don't want to end up with scrambled eggs, and that's why we temper. So we're taking that hot rice liquidy mixture and putting it in here like that.
So you're slowly warming the eggs?
We're just slowly warming the eggs. Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, so they don't turn into scrambled eggs.
That's called tempering.
Now you're starting to see it thicken already.
Just go slowly.
Tempering is a very good thing to learn for
Custard, huh?
custards. We made what was the lemon one we did?
Oh, we make a salad dressing that has a bit of a cooked egg in it.
Yeah.
We'll teach you later this summer.
Oh, I was thinking the carbonara.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. So you can see how lovely this is getting. It's very silky. It's getting thick. Yummy.
Doesn't take long for those eggs to cook.
No. That's actually what's happening, is you are actually cooking the egg.
Now, these burners cook at about 22,000 BTUs,
Yeah.
so you're not going to have to worry about burning like I am right now. There we go.
There we go. In all its marble.
So that's chicken stock and rice and eggs and
And
lemon.
That's all it is. And you can see we got a nice big pot full.
So it's this nice creamy rice dish, and then later on we'll serve it with some of the kale sauce, and we have kind of a surprise way to serve it
Serve
so
it.
the kids can have fun eating it. It'll thicken up a little bit. Now these are going to go. These are our. I sweat down the mushrooms, and in about probably a quarter cup of olive oil. By the time it's done, I'm going to head over here, and then those onions, and we had green garlic from the box. Chop up in there. Okay, and we're going to put this in the food processor. And then, as soon as that water boils, so what will happen is we're going to wait for this water to come to a boil. It'll be a few more minutes. And then when we do, we're going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt to it. It's going to be pretty salty. And then we're going to add these greens that we cut up in ribbons, or chiffonade, if you will. So there's no stem in here, but you can use kale, you can use chard, if we had chard later in the summer, beet greens, which is its relative, any kind of green like that can go into this boiling salted water, and it's going to go in there for 5 minutes, so I'm going to get that neat little timer out. Wait for that to boil, add the salt, bring it to a rolling boil, add the greens, boil it for 5 minutes, and then we're going to take tongs. We don't have to take a colander or anything. We're just going to take tongs and drag that green over into the food processor, and then we're going to blitz all of that together. And that's going to make your sauce. That's all there is to it.
That's
So
all there is.
You can see it's not as rich as a pesto. It doesn't have the amount of oil. It doesn't have the protein of a
Cheese
nut.
and the nuts.
No cheese. It's much simpler. It's lighter on the palate, but it's really good. And because we put the mushrooms in there, it's got quite a bit of flavor up underneath it. We were sweating these fresh little zucchinis, and you can see a little puddle of water dropped out. These are the ones that I took a little grapefruit spoon to and just scraped a little bit out, and that scraping went in here, so we're not going to waste it. Mimi, do you want to stuff those and we can put them on a little plate? We have one. Here, our pumpkin plate.
Oh, you can tell the last time we were here was fall.
Yeah. So, you want to film, and then we just, there you go. And those are fun for company snacks.
Put them on an antipasta tray. Eat it like a salad. Again, just put them in. You don't have to be all
Yep.
fancy.
That's good nosh food. I don't know how many of you are familiar with artichokes, but I grew up in California, so we loved our artichokes. I would definitely swish them in some salt water and swish them vigorously like this. And even if you just have one in your box, it's kind of fun because you can steam it and prep it and then put it on a plate with, you know, some other bits of vegetables, maybe a little mince. But I like to take the tops off like this. You don't want to do this ahead of time because you'll find artichokes turn brown. But let's pretend like we're going to cook this today, which we're not. But I like to trim them down like this so that when you eat them, you're not going to get stabbed by Winnie the Pooh's spike. No, Eeyore. Not Eeyore is the one that likes artichokes, right? So
You don't see it very often.
if you
though.
get some stem like that, I'll take the leaves off like that.
Yeah.
But once this is steamed and cooked, this is edible, especially
Yes.
if you peel it back a little bit. I usually put them in my pressure cooker upside down like this, depending on their size. It's hard for me to give you a time, but anywhere from 30 minutes to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I cook them upside down like this. And then you can just let them come to room temperature. I love what she says in the book that we're reading this summer as a group, because she does. She affirms what you and I like. Room temperature vegetables are the best.
Yes.
So if you cook this the day before, you shove it in the fridge overnight, and then you want to have it for dinner, and you get home from work maybe an hour or two before, because who's going anywhere these days, but anyway.
Yeah.
Take it out and let it come to room temperature. It'll all be cooked, and then you can serve it. Who's in there? This guy didn't get enough salt. You can serve it with like a lemony creamy sauce. Some people like mayonnaise, some people like
Butter.
a vinaigrette, butter,
Yes.
whatever you want.
Yes.
But you don't actually eat the leaf, just so you know. You peel it off when it's tender, and you just kind of run it through your
Scrape it.
teeth, and you eat that tender stuff at the end. Get
When
a video online, because I don't want to find out anybody tried to actually eat the leaf. Now, the part in the middle, when we take it apart, is the glorious part. But you don't want to eat that fuzzy stuff right there,
Fuzzies.
which is what this is good for. But I don't like to do it until after it's cooked.
Yeah, it'll come out very easily after it's cooked.
Yeah, but that, and it's, these are so tender and beautiful. You can actually cook them and then braise them upside down like that with a roast or something too, because these are babies.
And cook them that way.
So the water's boiling, you guys. Where's that salt? We're gonna do about 2 teaspoons. And then,
There it
pop that
goes.
in there. So this is a traditional way of cooking greens in an Italian household, of just boiling them. It'll take some of the bitter out. If you're new, if bitter is a new flavor to your palate, this is a good way to start. Remember, boiling water to cook those vegetables. And it's salted water. But this week we're serving the Avgolemono Rice and with the Kale Sauce. And I would imagine in our house, I would pull out some of that lettuce right before we eat. I usually have a homemade vinaigrette just sitting on the counter this time of the year. There's a recipe on the website. Okay, 5 minutes is up, and we're gonna start gathering the greens, and I'm just gonna put the pot lid underneath. And it's okay to bring some of the water along, that'll be some of the seasoning. There we go. Now, if you were gonna serve this sauce with pasta, bring it back up to boil, throw your pasta in there, and then you can dump it in a colander, and you might get a few of the greens along with it. And that way you're saving energy and flavor
And water.
And water.
And
Okay.
using more nutrients.
Right. I need a spatula, Mimi. You want to take a look at this, Ken? Let the camera see it. It's pretty thick. That should be about right. Look at that. Look at the color. Can you see that? That's pretty spectacular, isn't it? So we made it ahead at our house. This is what we've been using. Same recipe. And we put it in an old, I think this was a honey container.
Looks like a honey.
But then you can squeeze it out like this. It's a little thick. So if you have one of those things that you see in hamburger joints that have a taller point on them, it would work better. A big J on here for Jubilee. There's a big J for Jubilee Farm.
The kids can put their own initials or make a flower, a star,
Just put it on the table like that.
on
So
a
you-
worm.
But if you have a better tube, it'll
tube,
squeeze out better. But then you've got the kale sauce that the kids can then stir into their own Avgolemono rice, and there you go. You've got dinner. So have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye! Miss you all! Wish I could see you in person! Love!
Oh, there, it's going now.
Well, so you did. This does not look like my initials. but it's tasty.